Good evening. Welcome. Welcome everyone to the University of Washington Department of Communication Alumni of Distinction and Hall of Fame ceremony. My name is Christine Harold, and I'm a professor and chair of the Department of Communication. And this year, on this glorious November night, on this beautiful campus, we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Hall of Fame. The Alumni of Distinction was brought on a few years later to honor folks in their earlier parts of their career, but they are no less celebrated tonight, that's absolutely sure. So thank you all so much for being here, faculty, staff, alumni, friends, and families, to help us celebrate this year's honorees. For 2 decades, we have been coming together as a community to celebrate our most distinguished and inspiring alumni, and I very much look forward to continuing that tradition tonight. If you are already a member of the Hall of Fame, can you please take a moment, if you're able, to stand and let us recognize you? Thank you. And if you can, if you're able to stay after, just at the end of my closing remarks this evening, if you could stick around for a few photos, we would really love that. If you can't, totally understandable too. So tonight we will honor 2 alumni of distinction. Gayleen Meyer will be receiving the Communication Leader Award, and Erica Sampson will be receiving the Outstanding Early Career Award. Then our 2024 inductees, Austin Jenkins, Susanna Frame, and Dr. Victor Picard, will join the esteemed ranks of our Communication Alumni Hall of Fame. Before we get started with our awards and our inductions, I'd like to share just a few recent highlights about things that are going on in UW Communication, as well as some things that we're looking forward to in the next year. So in no particular order, our career exploration trips continue to go strong, and I know we share about those often. In those, we send students to visit the workplaces of alumni in New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Seattle, so that they can get this opportunity, really unique opportunity, to get a taste of the different kinds of careers that they might pursue after studying communication, after they leave UW. A few other items of note. The department welcomed our newest faculty member, Savon Williams, this year. Savon is a scholar of interpersonal communication, and her work explores important subjects such as interracial friendships, the experience of Black women in academia, and the role of communication for veterans of color who are facing PTSD. Doctors Adrian Russell and Matt Powers, co-directors of the department's Center for Journalism, Media, and Democracy, the CJMD, both recently published books, both as it happens with Columbia University Press, on subjects related to the challenges and opportunities facing today's journalists. Adrian's book is entitled The Mediated Climate: How Journalists, Big Tech, and Activists Are Vying for Our Future. And Matt's book is The Journalist's Predicament: Difficult Choices in a Declining Profession. Our CJMD and journalism colleagues also have a number of initiatives at work for students, such as the alumni-sponsored Pushing Boundaries program, which, among other things, will place student journalists in internships in so-called news deserts, underserved areas of our state, and working with graduate students to study the impacts of reductions in state house reporting. The Center for Communication Difference and Equity, the CCDE, continues to evolve its Interrupting Privilege project, which brings together students and community members from across Seattle for intergenerational conversations about race, racism, and its intersections. The CCDE Interrupting Privilege is currently on display as an exhibit, a multimedia exhibition, at the Northwest African American Museum through December. So if you get a chance to go and visit that, I really encourage you to do so. So those are just a few of the exciting things that have been going on in the last year or so, but there's also a number of things that we're really looking forward to in the coming year. So one thing is that we continue to expand our professional development programming for our undergraduates, known as Career Kickstart. And this is really a program that's only possible because of alumni engagement. We engage our alumni to serve as mentors, to do Ask Me Anything sessions, to just do all kinds of, we do career panels in our we have these large 400-person introduction to communication courses. We bring in panels of alums to take questions and share a little bit about some of their wisdom professionally with students. So we really invite you to check that out as well. This year, we're also launching the Emerging Scholars Program. So under the leadership of Dr. Tamika Townsell, Emerging Scholars is designed to introduce graduate level study to promising students from backgrounds typically underrepresented in doctoral programs through a week-long immersive summer experience at UW. And that program will launch this spring. Here's a cool one. In anticipation of the World Cup coming to Seattle in 2026, communication faculty member Kaylee Cook, who's with us here tonight, is collaborating with UW-Jackson School's Global Sports Lab on a unique research and media project called Home Fields. This project aims to document, report on, and work with grassroots soccer communities in the Seattle area to highlight how marginalized communities such as immigrants and gender nonconforming folks confront issues of belonging, play equity, and access to community resources. Finally, this year, we aim to expand our network and events for our growing community of alumni, many of whom are here tonight. We have created a new area of our website that's specifically intended as a home base for alumni stories and events, and we aim to expand our LinkedIn presence and hold networking events so that our alumni can better connect with their classmates and colleagues throughout the field. So be looking for that. If you have ideas, if you'd like to participate, please do give me a shout. So we have a lot to be proud of and a lot to look forward to as we continue to thrive as a scholarly community. My colleagues and I are incredibly grateful for the opportunity to serve our students and the public doing critically important work that we genuinely love. Our alumni, donors, and friends of the department really help make this work possible. And so I just want to say for that, thank you. Finally, I know many of us are still processing the enormity of the results of this week's election. I have many feelings about this, as I'm sure you do as well. What I'll say here is that I am more resolved than ever to utilize our platforms and our networks to help heal divisions and to amplify the important contributions we make through our research, our teaching, and our support for students, alumni, and our broader community. The subjects that we teach in the Department of Communication, things like political communication, rhetoric, communication technologies and systems, interpersonal conflict and resolution, the role of journalism in shaping political sentiment, and how to communicate across racial and cultural differences are more important today than they have probably ever been. And I am grateful to be a part of this group of scholars and professionals who contribute positively to our mission every day. So again, welcome to all of you, and especially to this year's honorees and their friends and families who have joined them and are going to cheer for them tonight. We're really glad that you're here. So before I launch into the rest of the program, I just want to give a few logistical notes. So first, for our honorees, you will be introduced, as you know, by a member of our faculty. And then when they're done making their introduction, they'll invite you to come up and make your remarks. But before they do that, they'll invite you over here to this table with the purple tablecloth there. They will give you your award. Our colleague MJ will be there to snap a quick picture of you receiving your award. And then you'll be invited to come right here where I'm standing to make your remarks. Okay? A few other logistical things, in case you didn't notice. There's a bathroom. It's all genders, but it does have private doors and whatnot. But it's right here in the foyer where you came in. There's also a coat room in that back room as well. Bars open till 8. So I think I got all the important things out of the way. So let's go ahead and get started. We begin tonight by honoring our alumni of distinction. For the first of these, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Dr. Akin Yashin, who will introduce our first award recipient, Gayleen Meyer.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Christine. I'm Akin Yashin. I'm the Director of Communication Leadership Master's Program, formerly known as MCDM. And I'm really excited to introduce two of our alumni tonight, starting with Gayleen Meyer. The Communication Leader Award celebrates alumni of the Communication Leadership Program who embody the program's core values and make unique, impactful contributions to the field. This year's honoree is Gayleen Meyer. Let's celebrate her for a minute. Gayleen is a leader whose work exemplifies transformative power of communications. We all need communication leaders in our organizations and communities today more than ever. Leaders who create thoughtful communication infrastructures, approach their work with care, have a truly global mindset, help organizations and teams make sense of an ever-evolving and unstable world, and embrace change with responsibility in mind. Gayleen is one outstanding communication leader that we're lucky to have in our community. I want to share what I've learned from Gayleen about true communication leadership from her prolific career before I invite her to stage to present her with her award and for her to share her remarks. I want to share that Gayleen was a student in some of my classes and I got to work with her closely, but I've also followed her career closely after she graduated as well. Gayleen plays a pivotal role in her organization and beyond, showing us how a communication leader can make complex operations understandable. She does this by leveraging an impressive range of skills from community engagement to writing to strategic thinking. During my time as her instructor and in conversations since, I witnessed Gayleen's talent for synthesizing information, making products and emerging technology approachable, and translating innovation into messages that resonate deeply. Gayleen brings this strength daily to her role as Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications at Impinj, where she leads initiatives that engage audiences worldwide. In Gayleen, we see a communication leader who works with curiosity, a commitment to lifelong learning, and a drive to make knowledge accessible to everyone. Her dedication to mentorship within Impinj, within our program, she was just in my class just a few weeks ago, and in the community, reflects her belief that true leadership is about lifting others as much as personal achievements. But Gayleen's impact extends far beyond organizational walls. Gayleen also collaborates with organizations like Seattle's Gage Academy as a board member and Independent Art Institute to make art education more accessible to communities in our region. Through this work, Gayleen connects people to art and education, enriching the community and fostering meaningful connection. Again, after knowing Gayleen for many years, I also want to highlight her kindness, her warmth, and genuine care for others are also hallmarks of her leadership. Again, today we honor Gayleen Meyer as a remarkable communication leader whose impact reaches beyond her role, her career, mentorship, and passion for connecting knowledge, contributing to the current and future of communication and marketing practice, and her community contributions inspires us all. Congratulations, Gayleen, on this well-deserved award and for being such an exemplary leader.
Wow, it's lovely to be introduced like that, especially in the presence of my family. So I'm very honored, very, very deeply honored to be recognized for this award. I didn't expect it was going to make me emotional, but it has. And I also want to thank my husband and my sons, Evan, who's here, and my other son, Emmett, who couldn't make it tonight, for their support. It's not easy to have a mom go back to college, and they were really great. Interestingly enough, tonight is a strange full circle moment for me because it started with the first Trump election in 2016. That election left me feeling very unmoored and uncertain, and I looked to the internet for answers. And I came across a recording of a moderated conversation put on by the University of Washington Communication Leadership Program. I wonder if you remember the program called What Happened? The Role of Traditional Social Media in the 2016 election. Well, I was hooked, and that was a rabbit hole that I went down, and I learned everything I could about the Communication Leadership Program. And I'm really grateful that that content was shared with me. It was very meaningful. I had always thought that I would go to graduate school, but for me, the norm in the business that I was in was that I would get an MBA, and that was really under consideration for many years. But I remember the day I changed my mind. I was in a room, and everyone at the table had an MBA but me. Some of them were from very prestigious universities. And this group could not put together a coherent story for a product launch that we were working on. And I thought to myself, the world, especially the world of technology, needs strong, competent, strategic communicators. So from my vantage point today, as a leader in a technology company on communications marketing programs, I just want you all to know that your work teaching people these skills is very important. Very important. So tonight I thought I would share with you 4 things that I took away from my time at the University of Washington that I use every day in my world. First, to find the essence. And if I remember correctly, that was the name of one of the first assignments, and we might have been in the same group. Where we learned and studied the practice of finding the central truth in a story and to let that single point shine. It's so much easier to fill the page with blah, 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 blah. But every day I work to keep good ideas from getting buried. Second, to keep perspective. I learned how important it is to step back, to look around, and to check your course, to name and describe what is happening so you can understand it. And my team today is used to me revisiting the objective and making sure that the work we're doing is aligned with what we set out to do. The next thing is the power of talking about ethics. In this program, I practice thinking and then talking about my own principles and what it meant to be ethical in the workplace. And by doing this work, I became comfortable talking about principles and ethics in the workplace. And what I realized is that when I did that, it gave other people permission to also talk about their own principles. And what happened after that is so important. And last, the value of strategy. Through this program, I realized that when I brought my communication skill set to strategic work, I wasn't helping. And what I mean by that is that I wasn't helping somebody else to do strategy. What I realized is that my work as a communicator in a strategic project was shaping the strategy, and that was incredibly valuable. And it might seem like a simple thing to say in this room, but I spent a long time in my career undervaluing the contribution of strategic work that I was contributing. And today I make sure that everybody on my team knows that their contribution to strategy is valuable. Last night I looked through the folders and opened projects and looked at notes from my time in the ComLead program. It was a very fun trip down memory lane. And I came across my application that I wrote to get into the program. And I was struck by how I ended my essay. I wrote, "And more than anything, I want to be a part of a community that geeks out on communication. For these are my people." This is a wonderful community, and I'm so pleased to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Gayleen. I'd like to welcome my colleague, Dr. Matt McGarity, to introduce the recipient of this year's Outstanding Early Career Award, Erica Sampson.
The Outstanding Early Career Award was developed to honor a recent graduate who has shown both impressive early career success and a commitment to the public good. And this is undoubtedly true of tonight's winner, Erica Sampson. Where is she? Where am I going to be speaking to her? There she is. So Erica earned her undergraduate communication degree from the department in 2013. And then she worked as an advisor over in the Office of Minority Affairs and Diversity. She rejoined the department in 2015, starting out as an academic advisor. She earned a Master's of Education in Higher Education Leadership from UW before being promoted to her current role as the Director of Academic Services. Now, as the director, Erica guides curriculum and planning for all aspects of the undergraduate life cycle. Recruitment, managing advising, doing advising, planning classes, retention, extending student access to departmental resources and opportunities, and of course, graduation. Now, as I see here, if you went through the Department of Speech Communication or the School of Communications, I don't know if you know how big we are now. Okay, we're huge, okay? And Erica is the point of contact for thousands of prospective, current, and former communication undergraduates. And not only that, but she also works with dozens of units on campus and other professional organizations. Her skills have been recognized with a number of professional board appointments, and Erica's colleagues on campus and beyond respect her devotion to her work. So Kat Eli, the academic director for Law Societies and Justice, said that Erica is insightful, open-minded, charismatic, and thoughtful in all that she does. She is a leader among academic services directors across campus. Liberty Bracken, the Associate Director for Student Athletic Academic Services, said that Erica is an invaluable asset. She demonstrates a collaborative spirit, finding a creative way to help students pursue their academic goals. Leanne Wiles, who's the Director of First Year Programs, says that Erica leads the university in removing barriers for first-year transfer student success. So clearly, Erica is highly educated and highly skilled in the business of advising, but advising is a people business, right? What makes Erica stand out is her ability to combine two seemingly impossible poles, managing a large, complex institutional entity with individual caring support. You would imagine, right, that such a complex system would result in a less hands-on approach, or that such emotional work couldn't operate at scale. But Erica does both. Simon Tran, from the Office of Merit Scholarships, Fellowships, and Awards, says that Erica has an immense ability to make educational experiences positive, organized, and impactful. Janet Gemerad, Director of Academic Services over in Biology, talked about Erica's care and compassion for students from all backgrounds. Erica holds them accountable, but gives them room for their story to come through. So, as you can guess from these comments, when Erica's colleagues learned that she had won this award, two things happened. One, they were completely unsurprised, all right? Totally expected. Erica's hardworking, she's industrious, she is a model of academic advising. No one was surprised that she had received this award. The other thing that happened is they absolutely fell over themselves providing compliments about Erica. As her colleague, Troy Bonas, points out, Erica employs a strategic vision that allows the department to better serve our community. She does all of her work with a seemingly effortless grace. HR manager Nancy Gwynn said that Erica is an advocate for students, an advocate for staff, an advocate for the department. And just this Tuesday, she was walking around the department saying she was a cheerleader for democracy. Erica's compassion and care for others has cultivated a community, not just coworkers but supporters, not just colleagues but friends. And we can see this right here. I know this because we knew reservations. By a show of hands, how many of you are here tonight to support Erica? 4+ tables. 4+ tables. We almost had to reserve a different space. We do this again, we may have to do it at Husky Stadium. Faculty member Kaylee Cuck pointed out that Erica works hard and devotes herself to others. She's a caring coworker who checks in with you when things go wrong. Having Erica on the team means that people feel cared for because she respects their energy, their time, and their effort. She takes the time to do things that connects people to her, and that's magnetic. So our major, our department, our college, our university, everything is better for Erica's dedication to her job, dedication to her students, and dedication to caring. So please join me in thanking Erica for all that she does.
I was told by my father-in-law I need to speak close to the microphone, so I'm getting very close to the microphone. Thank you, Matt, for the very thoughtful introduction, and to everyone who wrote such kind words about me. It's very, very touching, especially right now. Who would have thought that my introduction to public speaking instructor would be the one to introduce me 15 years later? So that's cool. I like that. When I started to write down my remarks last week for this award, I didn't know what I would be feeling 2 days after such a consequential election. Yesterday, I highlighted that draft and I deleted it all. I had this feeling of dread, anxiety, worry. I quite frankly was not in a celebratory mood, and I had no idea what to say to you all tonight. Do I try to be cheerful and just say my thanks? Do I speak to all the pain that I'm feeling right now, or would that be too political? What I decided was to speak my truth, because no one can take that away from me. And the truth is that I'm hurting, but I'm also grateful. I am grateful to be a part of the Department of Communication as both an alum and as their Director of Academic Services. I have been privileged, having had the choice of what I studied, what career to pursue, and I'm also privileged to have a job in a department that values and trusts me and my experiences and expertise. It is within this department that I have been able to grow my career as a higher education professional and have the support to continue to develop the skills that I need to support our students. To that, I want to thank Christine and my other colleagues in COM for giving me that space to grow. And I know I'm going to cry now. I am also grateful to have been raised by 2 immigrant parents. Despite having college degrees and careers in the Philippines, they still decided to come to the United States because they knew it would provide a better life for their future children. My father, Joseph, worked in public service at the U.S. Postal Service. My mother, Emelita, built a career in accounting at 2 locally owned companies here in Washington. If that isn't the American dream, I don't know what is. It is because of their sacrifices and hard work that I never had to worry about basic needs and grew up in a household that made sure that I never lost sight of where I came from while also having the power to pave the road ahead. So thank you, Mama and Papa, for your unconditional love and support, and for raising me to be a woman who is independent and seeks not what she can gain, but what she can give. The eldest daughter mentality is very real here, folks. I want to thank my younger sister, Jacqueline, for being my built-in best friend. Jacqueline, my life wouldn't be the same without having you to grow up with. You have shown me what it means to have empathy and selflessness. You project light into the world, and I admire that. Being siblings means that we have this bond that no one else can duplicate. It's like a secret language only you and I know, and no matter what, I know we will always be there for each other. Plus, you keep me young and hip. I think it's a good trade-off for introducing you to Taylor Swift in One Direction all those years ago, so thanks. To my in-laws, my cousins, my friends, especially those here tonight, thank you for always showing up for me. Sometimes I automatically look to what I can give, that I lose sight of what I need. You always have been there for me to remind me that I never have to go through anything alone. And no matter how I am feeling, there is always room for love. Thank you. And to my partner, or colleague, as Matt said, Troy, I love you. Throughout our decade together, you have shown me what it means to be in an equal partnership, one that allows us to grow together and individually. You have shown me what it means to have civic duties and responsibilities, and have empowered me to not be an idle citizen, but to ask questions, take action. I have the utmost respect for you and your commitment to not only our country, but to our families and to me. You always know how to remind me to find the joys all around. Breathing in the fresh air on our walks to find sea glass, playing along when I can't help but quote SpongeBob. I am pretty damn lucky to have you as the one I get to go through life with. It is with this support of the people in my life that I have the strength to continue my work in higher education. I dedicate my career to empowering the next generation of students and helping them find their voices, to truly explore their values and beliefs and how they can make a difference in this country, and to not shy away from times of difficulty, but to have those hard conversations, because with hard work comes change. That is my truth. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award. It will always serve as a reminder of strength for me to keep the work going, to keep fighting. Thank you.
Congratulations, Gayleen. Congratulations, Erica. I just couldn't be happier for both of you. You really are the best of us. Thank you. Okay. So, to get us started on, oh, I need that. No, I can do it here. Never mind. Thank you. To get us started on our induction of our newest Hall of Fame members, I will invite in just a moment my colleague, Dr. Jerry Baldesty, former department chair who hired me some 17 years ago, emeritus professor and emeritus provost of the University of Washington. I asked Jerry to share a few words about the genesis and the spirit of the Alumni Hall of Fame. This is an event that Jerry, together with former Alumni Relations Manager Victoria Sprang, created in 2004. So we have Jerry and Victoria to thank for planting and nourishing the seed of this special evening. Many of you know Jerry, who in my mind is one of the most thoughtful, engaged, and ethical leaders I have ever had the pleasure of working with. So please help me to welcome Jerry Baldesty.
Thank you, Christine. Hi, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here. In the summer of 2002, the Department of Speech Communication and the School of Communications merged, and I became the first department chair of the new Department of Communication. We had a lot of things to do. I think we ended up figuring out some things kind of as we went along. One scene, and I worked with colleagues to try and figure out what our priorities were. How do we build on our strengths? Are there things that we could do that we haven't been doing as much as we could do? And one thing came to mind pretty quickly was that we could spend more time talking to our alumni, because we knew that we had alumni who cared a great deal about our students and about the department. People such as Pat Foote and Kathleen Miller were regularly around the halls of the department, talking to students, mentoring them. I also got letters, a variety of letters from people, people like Terry Tazioli, who's here, and Bob Mary, who say, you know, you guys got to just do more to engage with alumni, and they offered to help. And that planted the seed that led to redefining a staff position to focus on alumni outreach. That was when Victoria Sprang, incredibly creative, strategic, and hardworking colleague, joined the staff. And we got started. And more alumni began coming to the department to talk to our students. It was pretty wonderful to see. One thing, our visitors, our alums, reinforced things that we were talking about in our classrooms, and the students seemed to hear them better sometimes than they heard us. It's like we'd say it 5 times and someone would come in from downtown and say, oh gosh, why didn't you tell us this? But they did more than just reinforce what we had been saying. They added from their own experiences, They had suggestions and ideas. One of our alums told me that she wanted to help our students so that she wanted to tell them the things that she wished someone had told her when she was an undergraduate. And I guess that was the wonderful thing for all of us, was what alumni did. They brought in that experience, they brought in those ideas, and they showed the students that there was a path beyond just their classes. They invited them to start thinking more broadly about their careers and the challenges ahead. As we identified and met with more and more of our alumni, Victoria and I realized we had some pretty spectacular people who had graduated from the department. Our two departments had now joined into one. People who were leaders in communication and business, politics, nonprofits, kind of all over the place. Mayors, governors, I mean a lot of different kinds of people. People who, as we said, gee, they really have made the world a better place. That was our simple notion starting out. Let's just think about these people who have made the world a better place. And we decided that we needed to recognize them, honor them, and hold them up as role models to our students today. So we began the Communication Hall of Fame in 2004. And every year since then, the department annually has recognized outstanding alumni who have made a difference in their careers and their communities through their acts of service and professional achievements. So I'm happy to introduce the Alumni Hall of Fame to you. That's our story. Okay.
We have a bit of a retrospective video to share with you that gives you a little bit of the backstory and some reflections, both from those of us in the department and some of our Hall of Fame members.
So I started when the department was maybe just a few years, less than 5 years into their merger with speech communication and the Department of Communication. It was a huge body of alumni with such a diverse group. It really made sense to look at the things that they'd done with their career. And what unfolded was an incredible body of accomplishments, and not just career-wise, but in their personal lives and what they've done for their communities and for society, and the changes they made in the discipline itself. It showed the campus, quite frankly, how important their alumni are and how important it is to recognize them, because it reflects back well on the department and the campus as a whole.
We were just so lucky to have these people as our alumni, and that we should honor them because they had done great things. The entry point to all of this was people who had made our world a better place. And I know that sounds a little corny, but these people have, and that's why we wanted to honor them. There are a lot of ways you can measure the excellence of a department. You can think about the publications our faculty do, which are just spectacular. You can think about awards that our faculty have received, nationally, internationally, leadership positions they've had in the field, but also one measure of success is, what do your students do after they leave? What are they prepared to do? How do they engage the world? What is their passion? What is their imprint? What do they do to make the world a better place? This event reminds us of all of that we have this wonderful, venture together.
It's exciting to be honored by your own department. There's no doubt about that. And to be honored by your colleagues or your professors or whoever is just a major, wonderful lift, to anybody. But I think that this particular Hall of Fame, if you look at the people who have gone on to do amazing things coming out of this department, it is really pretty terrific, So they've been in government, they've been in not-for-profits, they have lent their expertise and their wisdom and their enthusiasm for so many community projects here in the city of Seattle that have really made a difference to the people who live here and to people who come here as guests. It's just amazing what our own department's graduates have been able to achieve, many of them honored in the Hall of Fame.
I think that the wisdom of creating the Hall of Fame gave us a chance to look at what are the best of the best that we turn out. What do these folks embody? What do they look like? And it forced us to kind of assess who we are and what we do. And I also know with certainty that there have been a large many of alums in the Hall of Fame who have made suggestions, who have given us ideas, who have made investments, who have inspired, who have built legacies. And I think that the Hall of Fame is our way of saying thank you and recognizing them and letting them to know that they're always going to have a place with us.
What does training and communication, what has that meant to you?
Cooperation, coordination, altruism. These words flow through that. You know, the American Indian Sign Language. There was a mastery of communication that transcended simple words. We think of communication as words, but the intent of from heart to heart, from an experience, common experience. And that is where, you know, the richness of our indigenous cultures comes through, because it's ignorance that really separates us.
Something that is really meaningful and moving to me personally about being in the Hall of Fame is to see all the great people who were inducted before me, who've been really influential and important in my career. People like Lori Matsukawa, Brian Monroe, Steve Poole, Mickey Flowers, and Patricia Fisher. They're all really special journalists of color in our community and to me personally, and I'm so honored to be recognized with them.
One of my favorite parts in my role as chair of the Department of Communication has been getting to know some of our vast network of alumni. And communication at University of Washington has had many iterations over the decades, but a few things remain consistent throughout. And that is a shared commitment to excellence and ethics in our communication practices, whether that's in journalism or public advocacy or any number of other careers and activities that people go on to do after their time with us here at UW. And I would say that the world needs people who are committed and trained and thoughtful about inclusive, ethical, collaborative communication, maybe today more than ever. And I think as we know, and as our alumni and our Alumni Hall of Famers and our alumni of excellence have demonstrated time and again, that communication is really at the heart of community. And I can't think of anything more important than that. And so I congratulate this year's honorees. We are so proud and happy for you. And we look forward to seeing what you do next and who we will welcome into this community in the decades and years to come. Congratulations.
Thank you. So with that, let us go ahead and get started with our inductions of this year's 2024 members of the Alumni Hall of Fame. I would like to invite my colleague Akin back up to the podium to introduce our first inductee, Austin Jenkins.
Thank you all. I'm thrilled to recognize Austin Jenkins, who's being inducted into our Alumni Hall of Fame, a graduate of our Communication Leadership Master's Program. Let's take a moment to celebrate Austin. Many of you in the audience are already familiar with Austin's work, but let me try to recapture it very quickly. Austin's career and contributions to journalism exemplify the ethical leadership, dedication, and commitment to public service that we hope to inspire in all future practitioners. I personally had the privilege of working with Austin in several capacities as his instructor, as the program director, but we also collaborated in a number of public engagements where Austin took the lead. From each of these roles, I've seen firsthand why he is so deserving of this honor. And let me share a few key reasons that highlight Austin's remarkable impact across fields. First, Austin has been committed to exposing systemic shortcomings. Austin has built an impressive career by addressing some of the most critical issues of our time. Through his journalistic work, covering topics like AI policy, the Me Too movement, the lobbying influence on state politics, just to name a few, Austin shed light onto the inequities and challenges within our system for NPR stations of the Pacific Northwest and many other media organizations. His reporting work, not surprisingly, before tonight, has been recognized by many awards. His Emmy-nominated television show, Inside Olympia, has become a vital platform for public accountability, bringing politicians and practitioners face-to-face with the public. His award-winning journalism embodies the depth and rigor needed to drive meaningful conversations and transparency needed in state politics. Understanding state policies matter more today than ever, where there are even more defined differences in national and state politics, and Austin's work truly lives in that space. Second, Austin is dedicated to the future of journalism. When Austin joined our program as a graduate student, he brought with him a well-established career, yet he approached his studies with humility and curiosity. His interest in professional communication and emerging media platforms has greatly influenced his current work in Pluribus News, where he explores new approaches to cover state-level public policy. Austin's embrace of emerging trends reflects his commitment to the future of journalism, adapting to meet new challenges with integrity. We all need that future now more than ever. Third, Austin engages with public audiences in key topics of our time. Austin has also established himself as a respected public intellectual through partnerships with institutions like Town Hall, Seattle, and our department and our program at the University of Washington. He brings critical conversations to public audiences on very timely topics like elections, state house coverage, and future practices. His dedication to informed, meaningful dialogue enriches our understanding of democracy and where are we today. Lastly, Austin is cultivating and supporting future practitioners. I think this is true for everyone in this room, and that's wonderful. Austin has been a steadfast mentor to students in our program, offering guidance that has shaped many young professionals in communication. His teaching at St. Martin's University underscores also his commitment to nurturing the next generation of journalists, inspiring them to pursue careers grounded in ethics and curiosity. We're honored to induct Austin into our Alumni Hall of Fame, and I'm thrilled to celebrate his achievements with all of you today. Congratulations, Austin.
Wow. This is humbling. And when I got the email, it was shocking. Very shocking. But I'm so honored to be here. I'm going to try to also, as a former radio guy, you kind of do need to know how to use the mics, right? So hold them close. I want you to be able to hear me. I want to begin with some acknowledgments and thank yous. First to Dr. Akinya Shin, who nominated me for this honor, who has given me so many opportunities to, since I graduated from the ComLead program, to re-engage with the program and with broader audiences through events at Seattle's Town Hall. Thank you, Akin, for your support, for your confidence in me, and for nominating me. Congratulations to my fellow inductees, Susanna and Victor, to award winners Gayleen, a fellow ComLeader, and Erica, A word about Susanna. She and I have known each other since 2003 when I spent a year reporting at King 5 News. I have such respect and admiration for you as a reporter who holds truth to power, gets results, and never backs down. I was rereading Susanna's bio and all the awards you've won. We are in the presence tonight of a superstar reporter. I'll move on, but it's true. I want to acknowledge the comm lead faculty. At a pivotal mid-career point for me, when I had little kids and a very patient wife who let me go back to school, you reignited my intellectual curiosity and provided a course of study that was both rigorous and engaging, such that I actually looked forward to driving up from Olympia to Seattle on rainy nights or on Saturdays for all-day classes. I went through a transformation in the comm lead program and gained a new identity and a new purpose as a leader in my field. To Chair Harold and the staff and faculty of the School of Communication, thank you for this honor and for the opportunities that you, and in particular Professor Matt Powers, have given me to engage with the faculty of the department and with your students. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge my table mates tonight. My father, Mark Jenkins, who is retired School of Drama faculty, who has always taught me, not to accept the are we losing the mic here? Yes. My voice is pretty loud. I could probably do it that way. Sorry. That's fine. Thank you, of course. Thanks. My father, Mark Jenkins, who's retired School of Drama faculty, who has always taught me not to accept the status quo. My stepsister, Rebecca Mason, who's known me since I dreamed of being a reporter, and who is as loyal and as supportive as they come. I also intentionally invited colleagues and mentors who've guided me and supported me through my entire career. Retired KNKX News Director Erin Hennessy, who took my call more than 20 years ago, gave me a shot at public radio, and then recruited me to the Olympia Bureau to cover the state capitol. My former editor, fellow Hall of Famer, and fellow Garfield Bulldog, Phyllis Fletcher, who literally cleared boulders out of the way so that I could do ambitious work, and whose admonition to show, not tell, has become a North Star for me as a reporter. Also here tonight from KUOW is Deborah Wong, a former ABC and NPR correspondent, who, as my editor, had the superpower of turning my very stilted broadcast quality into conversational gold. She is a true pro. Also here tonight from KUOW, no relation, Derek Wong, who's supposed to be at my table. I don't know what happened, but he's back there now, who is also a longtime editor of mine. Derek took on the bureaucracy so that I could take on the stories. And he was a tireless advocate for Olympia coverage and an unwavering supporter of my work. Kathy Duchamp, also formerly now of KUOW, currently assistant managing editor of the Puget Sound Business Journal, was also my editor. Kathy sent me to every corner of this geographically and economically diverse state to tell the stories of the Pacific Northwest, and once even accompanied me on a reporting trip to the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. Talk about a hands-on editor. There are others too, Colin Fogarty, who couldn't be here tonight, Kate Kincannon. As you can tell, I burned through a lot of editors in 19 years on the Capitol beat. I want to acknowledge Essex Porter, who's also here tonight. Essex serves on the board of Cascade Public Media. He's also Cairo Television's now retired, longtime political reporter. Essex is a friend and a mentor. For many years, we co-moderated Seattle City Club's legislative preview. And among the many things I admire about Essex is his ability, and this is so important in journalism, his ability to ask the right question. It's an art form and one I am still trying to learn. Essex has also given me sage career advice and helped me to see possibilities when I was seeing barriers. I also want to mention Dave Ammons, the former dean of the Capitol Press Corps, who in my mind should be Professor Ammons, and a fellow Hall of Famer. My ability to cover the state legislature was because I learned at the feet of David Ammons, both in how you comport yourself, how you comport yourself, how you do the job, how you navigate the halls, how you deal with the special interests and the politicians who don't want to answer your questions. I learned it from David Ammons. To each of you, and to those who are not here tonight, including my wife Jennifer, who is at a mandatory high school basketball meeting, really bad timing. She really wanted to be here. Thank you for all you have done to support my career and my journey. You don't get here without a lot of help, and you gave it to me, so thank you. Now, I know I have like 2 minutes left, so I'll try to be quick about this, but with the remaining time that I have, I do want to reflect a little bit on my career and on my focus covering the state legislature. And I really appreciate Akin's comments and remarks about this, because the state legislature is easily overlooked in what goes on in state government. But here's why I think it's so important. Here's why I committed to this 20 years ago, covering state government for public radio, and now for Pluribus News, covering all 50 state legislatures, which we can talk about how that works. But I have both a local perspective now and a national perspective. Of course, it goes without saying that we are living in extraordinarily polarized times, and 2 days on from the presidential election, it is hard to see anything but a split-screen America. But something interesting is happening in state legislatures across this country. There are lawmakers who are stepping up in the face of congressional inaction, and they are acting. They are doing work that has been described as being a shadow Congress. In essence, these legislators at the state level are doing their job, and they are doing Congress's job. This is especially true in tech policy, which I cover, where a cohort of state legislators from both red and blue states, from Texas and California, Alaska and Connecticut, Florida and Washington, are meeting and talking about how best to regulate artificial intelligence. They are motivated by a regret that they did not move more swiftly to place guardrails on consumer data privacy and on social media, and they do not want to repeat that mistake again. But they are mindful that legislating interstate commerce on a state-by-state basis is fraught. It risks creating a regulatory patchwork, and it also makes it really easy for tech companies to play states off of each other. By meeting, by talking, by strategizing, these lawmakers are developing legislative frameworks that can be adapted to each state's needs. In essence, they're creating model legislation that is flexible but offers common definitions and seeks to place responsibilities and obligations on both developers of and deployers of AI. The particular focus here is on rooting out algorithmic discrimination. We don't want biased algorithms deciding if people can have access to housing, access to bank loans, access to healthcare, education. We'll see how this plays out in the next couple of years and whether this is a successful playbook, but I offer this as an example of policymakers stepping out of their partisan silos and stepping into the breach. You might think of these legislators as an improv troupe, only instead of coming up with comedy, they're coming up with public policy. They're making it up as they go, because if they don't, no one else will. Another example, the last time Congress passed significant children's online safety was in the 1990s, late 1990s. Technology has changed a little bit since then. With Congress again not acting, and to be fair, they've tried to get some stuff across the finish line, but it's hard there in that other Washington. With Congress not acting, states have stepped in again. Across the country, Democrats and Republicans are passing laws aimed at protecting kids from online harms and the dangers of social media. Much of what is passing is being challenged in court. And so far, the tech companies are winning, but it's early days yet. But here's what's happening, is state lawmakers are responding to parents who are concerned. They're responding to alarming statistics about the state of depression, rates of depression and anxiety in young people. And they're taking action again where Congress is not. And even if some of these laws are missing the mark, the lawsuits are likely to result in important new case law that should provide some clarity on to what extent and how states can regulate the tech industry. New jurisprudence will emerge from these state legislative efforts. Now, with a second Trump administration just around the corner, and this is my last example, Democratic-led states like Washington will once again play a key role in battling back against policies that are potentially illegal or unconstitutional. We saw it with Trump 1.0, with more than 130 multi-state lawsuits filed and an 80% success rate. according to tracking by a professor at Marquette University. Now preparations are underway for Trump 2.0. Just today, the governor of California announced a special session to appropriate more money to the Department of Justice there to fund litigation. I listened in on news conferences today from the Attorneys General of California, the current Attorney General of Washington State, and the new incoming Attorney General-elect of Washington State. They're laying out their plans to fight Trump's policies in court on immigration and reproductive rights, environmental protections, the list goes on. The difference this time around is that they have the muscle memory and the infrastructure to respond. And as a former Virginia Attorney General told me today, a Republican, they don't need to recreate the playbook. They've run these plays before. The point here is that states, blue states in particular, are going to play a major role when it comes to the policies of this new administration and whether they are enacted or blocked. So why is this important? I'll bring this home. States are not policy and legal backwaters. They are the tip of the spear. David Ammons, who used to cover Olympia for the Associated Press, often said that reporters at the State House got a front row seat to history. And he is right. I would also argue that in 2024, those of us covering state houses have a front row to where the most important public policy is being made in this country. And while our tendency is to focus on what is not happening in Washington, D.C., rather than what is focusing on in our own states and state houses, we should be changing our gaze, shifting our gaze, perhaps splitting our gaze. State houses are literally the laboratories of democracy, and they are worth some of your attention. Again, thank you for this honor. Thank you for your attention.
Congratulations. Okay, so I invite you to take a 15-minute intermission. We will reconvene at 8 o'clock for our last two inductees into the Hall of Fame, Susanna Frame and Victor Picard. Bar is open until 8. There is food in the back, so and the restrooms again are in the foyer to your left. See you at 8.
It is my great honor to introduce Dr. Victor Picard, who graduated in 2003 as an honorary of the 2024 Alumni Hall of Fame. Dr. Picard is the C. Edwin Baker Professor of Media Policy and Political Economy at the Annenberg School of Communication in University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Picard has made a profound impact on the fields of media, policy, and political economy, as well as journalism studies, significantly shaping conversations about the role of media and journalism in a democratic society. Dr. Picard's 6 books, nearly 100 articles, and nearly 5,000 citations in Google Scholar, and frequent public engagements are a testament to his innovative thinking and dedication to creating a more equitable media landscape. Dr. Picard spearheads initiatives to promote media justice and policy change, working directly with journalists, activists, and policymakers at national level as well as at local stages. Through his work, Dr. Picard bridges the gap between scholarly research and practical advocacy, challenging corporate control of media and pushing for more democratic alternatives. Dr. Picard's lifelong commitment to community engagement is exemplified by his leadership in advocating for media justice and equity. As co-director of Media Inequality and Change Center, he collaborates with community organizers to challenge structural inequality in media, and he supports activist initiatives as well as policy interventions at national level. Dr. Picard's initiatives have directly impacted thousands of people, particularly through his involvement with projects like Pennsylvania Broadband Institute, which works closely with the people in Pennsylvania to close the digital divide across the state, and which serves as a role model for many other states in the United States. The International Communication Association honored him with the Journalism Studies Public Engagement Award in 2023 for his successful engagement with publics beyond academia and making significant contributions to journalistic practices. His successful research on public media and his advocacy for more democratic media systems have also earned him widespread recognition from policymakers, academic, and activists alike. Internationally, Dr. Pickard's scholarship and activism have made him a recognized voice on global media issues in Europe, in Australia, in Latin America, as well as in parts of Asia. His influence is felt on multiple continents, where his research inspired movements towards more just and democratic media systems. Dr. Pickard exemplifies the values that the Department of Communication at the University of Washington's education by blending scholarly rigor with real-world advocacy. I myself use his articles in my Communication 200 Introduction to Communication, as well as other upper division courses, which is read by thousands of students in a given year. Although he graduated nearly 2 decades ago, Dr. Pickard still embodies the ideal of critical inquiry and public service that are core to the Department of Communication's mission to nurture socially responsible and literate citizens. In sum, Dr. Pickard is a role model of critical scholarship and praxis that we in the Department of Communication aspire to present to the next generation of scholars, and the kind of scholars and activists we direly need more of in these challenging times. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Pickard.
Good evening. It's so great to see all of you, and thank you so very much for that kind and generous introduction, Anissa. That was really quite breathtaking. So I really appreciate it. I want to thank you and the selection committee for this award, and thank you all for being here this evening. I'm so deeply honored. I so wish I could be there with you. I've been dying to get back to Seattle for years now. But it just so happens that I'm on solo parent duty this week, so I've prepared just a few brief remarks to share with you virtually. I first just want to say that it means so much to me to receive this distinction, and I think of the UW Comm department as where my adult self really began to take shape. It's where my career trajectory was set on its course. I entered the MA program in the fall of 2001, which was just weeks after 9/11, and it was a very intense time, especially to be thinking about media and politics and the future of democracy. It's also when I began thinking about questions that would shape my research for decades, questions that I'm still grappling with today, like what is the role of journalism in a democratic society? How do our news media cover important social issues? What can we do to make media more democratic? And at this time in the early 2000s, the internet was still fairly new. It made our research questions more interesting and exciting. It seemed like there were so many kinds of opportunities for new forms of activism and politics. And these questions and interests led me to do a master's thesis on the Independent Media Center, the IMC. The IMC model, was also referred to as Indie Media, was founded in Seattle during the November 1999 WTO protest, the Battle of Seattle, as it was called. And the model was primarily designed to circumvent mainstream commercial media coverage, especially of activist issues. And it was wildly successful. It was soon replicated in over 150 sites across 6 continents in some 30 languages. And it was guided by the principle of don't hate the media, be the media. And this indie media model was defined by grassroots journalism, an interactive community news website. It was kind of a proto-community blog, which at that time was the social media of the early 2000s. And it was based on this radical organizing principle of consensus-based decision-making. And so this really was this revolutionary new model, and I think in most departments, if I had said that I wanted to do a master's thesis on something like this, they would have said, this is kind of outlandish. Why would you study this? But UW was such a special place, and they treated these new forms of activism as legitimate subjects for scholarly investigation. So they encouraged me to do it, and they trained me in doing this kind of research. And the training that I received at the UW Comm department was rigorous and interdisciplinary. It gave me unique opportunities to work with people like the great Lance Bennett, who became my mentor and advisor, and the wonderful Kirsten Foote and David Domke, all of whom were on my thesis committee. And I was fortunate to be at UW during the historic merger between what was then called speech communication and mass communication. And so we benefited from a rich diversity of methods and theories, and I had the opportunity to take classes with exceptional teachers like the late Don Pember, John Gaskell, David Silver, and Patricia Moy, among others. And I learned so much from these brilliant scholars and wonderful human beings. They taught me everything from how to set up a research design and methodological framework, how to prepare for a conference presentation, how to submit articles to top academic journals. It was such invaluable preparation, and I'm forever deeply in their debt. One last thing I wanted to mention was what led me to UW in the first place, what led me to the Department of Communication at the University of Washington. I was already living in Seattle at the time, in the early 2000s, when I was getting ready to apply to graduate programs. And one of the people I sought out for guidance was Robert McChesney, who's another UW alum who also happened to receive this award back in 2010, I believe it was. And Bob, who later would recruit me to join him at the University of Illinois for my PhD, was such a fan of his alma mater at UW. And when he heard that I was living in Seattle, he insisted that I go there for my master's degree, especially to work with Lance Bennett, who happened to have been on his dissertation committee. So this goes to show that all of us here who are fortunate to be connected to the University of Washington, to the Department of Communication, belong to a strong network and a very close-knit community. And I'm so honored to be part of it and grateful to have this opportunity to engage with you all, if albeit very briefly and virtually. And I want to thank you again for this incredibly meaningful distinction. I wish you all a wonderful evening, and I hope to make it out to Seattle in person before long. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Victor. You can't see me because you correctly and aptly see our audience, but that was really lovely. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that you could join us even remotely. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much. Good night.
Okay, so I'm going to invite my colleague Kaylee Cook to introduce our final, but certainly not least, inductee of the evening, Susanna Frame.
Hello. Anyone who has spent any number of years in Seattle knows Susanna Frame. She's that friendly face on the nightly King 5 news broadcast who has told the story of our city and state since 1992. I remember having coffee with Susanna a decade ago in a downtown shop. A longtime viewer stopped and introduced herself. She thanked Susanna for her work. The woman said she and her dad watched Susanna's segments together over the years. But she leaned forward and she excitedly said, "It feels like I grew up with you." And Susanna was her usual cool, calm, collected self. She thanked the woman graciously, went right back to her coffee. We kept having our conversation. But that's when I truly realized that Susanna is Seattle famous, and for good reason. She's intrinsically woven into the life and history of this fine city. As they say, journalists write the first draft of history, and that's a pretty big deal. But I've had the privilege of getting to know another side of Susanna as a mentor. For the past 10 years, I've invited Susanna to speak to our undergraduate journalism students about their experiences. After 37 years in the news business, obviously she has quite a few words of wisdom to share. And there's one thing that pops up every single time: story structure. Now, story structure is journalism nerd stuff, and I won't subject you to the details, but suffice to say, it's the kind of thing journalists and reporters sit and ponder, debate, and wrestle with in the newsroom. Most of us who have been in the business for any number of years know that good story structure makes the story. Susanna often reminds students in our class that the heart of good structure, the heart of great storytelling, is actually human connection. Start with the person at the center, she says, over and over, and they listen to her more than me. Then she says, build the tension and conflict, lay out the facts and background, but always return to that human center. So today, I'm gonna take Susanna's advice to heart because, as she always says, being a good storyteller is a skill that transcends the boundaries of journalism, and in this case, introductions. To tell the story of Susanna isn't really about the titles or the awards, although she has plenty of those, including George Foster Peabody Awards, National Edward R. Murrow Awards, National Emmy Awards, and a DuPont Columbia Award, considered the broadcast news equivalent of the Pulitzer Prize. As the chief investigative reporter and head of journalist development at King 5 Media Group, her true passion is exposing injustices and holding power accountable. From her early days in Yakima to her current role in Seattle, she's tackled complex, multi-part investigations that shine a light on government waste, fraud, civil rights investigations, and even the mismanagement of nuclear waste. Really, the story of Susanna is not just about journalism, it's about being a catalyst for change. And how much do we need that right now? Her work has led to public policy shifts, congressional inquiries, and new state laws, plus a few fans she meets in coffee shops. Beyond her investigative prowess, Susanna is a gifted mentor, helping students, reporters, and anchors refine their storytelling skills. She has a unique ability to weave the human element back into every story, reminding all of us who practice this industry all of the importance of connection in journalism. That's not easy. That's a skill Susanna built and refined through years hunched over a keyboard, hours tied to editing bays, and many decades of connecting with her viewers. As she told my students 2 weeks ago, the longer you do it, the easier and more fun it all becomes. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Susanna Frame into the UW Communication Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming a true champion of journalism and public interest, Susanna Frame.
Thank you so much, Kaylee. Not very many people watch television anymore, but if you have seen me on TV, you know now the jig is up. I'm extremely short. I look taller on TV, but this mic is in the perfect spot. I think we're gonna do just fine, and I'll try to get through this quickly. I know I'm the very last person, but I first wanna thank the chair and the Department of Communication for this honor. It's so great to be back on the University of Washington campus. I have a lot of good memories here. I learned a lot here, and it's just a real joy to be in this great group of highly esteemed people. I also want to thank the people that are at my table today. First, Roberta Romero. She's the person that nominated me and put together this packet that looks like I'm trying to become the CEO of General Motors. I mean, it's like all this stuff, essays she had to write. So thank you so much, Bert. Bert is my longtime colleague at King 5. She's also my best friend and also my neighbor. Lives across the street from me. Thank you to Roberta. Also, I just can't stress enough that this job, I think Austin talked about it as well, it's a very demanding job that takes a lot of time, and the people at this table have been the backbone of my support system. Right here, my brother Billy Frame, he's been my encouragement, my role model. He's a big CEO at a great big company, and he's always told me I can do it. Roberta, as I said, my oldest son, Lee Swadine, I love so much, and he has so much belief in me. And my husband right here, Stephen Swadine, God knows, anybody who knows me knows this man's a saint. He's put up with so much and so much time away. Yeah. And last but not least, my mom. My mom is Nancy Frame. She graduated here in 56, Mom? 57. And she came over today on the bus from Yakima to be here tonight. And if it weren't for my mom, I never would have had this cockamamie idea to get into this field because, of course, as most journalists do, I wanted to be a dentist when I came to the UW. And, a couple of chemistry courses later, I'm like, out. So anyway, I was a sophomore, and my mom tells me, hey, I think that you should apply to that school. Back then it was a school of communications. I had never heard of that field. I'm not one of those people that grew up like, I want to be a journalist and do great things. I was just like, I don't know, what do I want to do? And I'd never heard of it, but I filled out the thing, and you guys accepted me, and thank you. So thank you, Mom, for not only that, bringing me into this lane of life and my career, but so many I have amazing parents, and I wouldn't be here at all today if it weren't for my trusted, loyal, loving parents, Nancy and Bill Frame. A little bit about the University of Washington. I was talking to my sister the other day. She also went to the U. She couldn't be here tonight. And we were talking about what was it about the university that got you on the road here? And I'm like, what I really think it is the doors that they opened for me to be associated with working professionals, people that are excellent at their job in this community. I had so many amazing internships that my professors and advisors at the UW hooked me up with that really informed my decisions about my career. And the University of Washington also hooked me up with my very first job in broadcast journalism. It was a part-time job while I was in college, and it was for a network, CBS Sports. Now, I was in the lofty title of a runner, and my job was to fetch coffee and scripts to greats like Brett Musburger and Jim Nantz. And so it was a very humble little job, and I made $50 a day, which I thought was great, when they would come to Seattle to do big sporting events like Husky games. But I got to see excellence up close. I got to see people that demanded excellence up close, and that really, I've never forgotten it. And so I really want to thank the University of Washington for that gift as well. Now, try as they might, the UW tried to prepare me for my very first job in Yakima at Candio, which is the NBC affiliate, 37 years ago, right when I graduated. Try as they might to prepare me, I did not have any clue what I was getting myself into. Thank God I was in Yakima at my first job so I could live free with my parents, because I think I made like 50 cents a week. It was bad. And so my parents, thank goodness, let me, of course, live there for free. But one thing that I remember about that is I had to learn so much, because now we're in the real world. I had to learn how to lug all the gear. I was the photographer, big camera. You can see, I'm not exactly a giant. And I had a big recording pack and a light belt. And I tried to learn all that stuff. And I had to learn how to edit videotape in time for the 6 o'clock deadline every night. I had to learn what is a story, how to get people to talk. I even had to figure out how to listen to scanner tones, like I was a firefighter, and they would make us take the scanner home at night and listen in case there was a big story to cover in the middle of the night. Of course, didn't get paid, probably against the law. And so I was in my childhood pink bedroom, in my childhood pink twin bed, sleeping with the scanner, and it'd go off, and I go, oh, sounds like a murder. But guess what? Even though I was a one-man band, I became a two-man band, because my mom would make my dad get up. and go to every shooting, stabbing, car wreck. There's Bill Frame. It looked like, God, that's kind of an old intern you got with you there. But anyway, my dad is not with us anymore here, but I love him so much. And thanks, Mom, for making Dad go out with me to those scenes. No, she would not let him go. Bill, get up! I can remember it. Anyway, so that was my very first job. So one thing about that, like trying to keep my head above water, I didn't realize the true gift and true potential I had as a journalist because I was just trying to survive. And I also didn't get it in my second job in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I didn't even get it in my third reporting job in Spokane. I figured it out here in Seattle at King TV in the shadows of the University of Washington that the true gift and the true purpose of this job is that I get the opportunity to enact change for the better in our communities every day. And I take that job very seriously and I think of it as a responsibility. And for some reason, and I think it's just clearly the power of journalism, it happens. I would say 92% of the time, we get a result in the King 5 investigative unit that I'm in charge of. Sometimes the results are quicker than others. Sometimes we get a result before the story even airs. This happened last week. I aired a story about 2 medically fragile girls who are students at the Clover Park School District in Lakewood. They're so medically fragile that 22 medical professionals said, no way, they can't go to school. Clover Park, you gotta take the services into the home, including medical professionals at the University of Washington and at Madigan Army Medical Center, because they're military families. For 3 years, the school district said, nope, they come to school or they don't get an education. So these girls did not get an education for those years. I make a phone call to Clover Park and say, hey, doing this story, want to let you know about it, want you to have a voice, want you to engage with us for the story. 3 days after I made that call, they made a settlement agreement, offered a settlement agreement with one of those families, and now that child is getting services in her home. And now, in fact, they both are. They fought for 3 years, and it was 3 days. And that is a great example of the power of the profession that we are in. Thank you. Some results take a little bit longer, 1 day. In 2021, I started a series called Skagit, River of Light and Loss, and I exposed. Is anybody here from the city of Seattle tonight? No? Okay, good. Then it's just between us. Okay, so in 2021, I exposed that the city of Seattle for decades, had spun a tale about their 3 hydroelectric dams on the Skagit River. That's where we get a lot of our power, 26%, I think, of our power. The tale was, hey, our dams, unlike every other dam in the Northwest, our dams don't hurt fish. Our dams don't hurt the cultural vibrancy and way of life for Native American tribes, and specifically the tribes of the Skagit Valley. Because we were lucky enough to build our dams above these huge boulders and cascades and falls, and so salmon never use that habitat anyway. Aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? Well, I proved that's not true. Salmon did use that habitat. And guess what, City of Seattle? You should be looking at finally installing a passageway for fish to get around your dams. 1 day, 24 hours after my first story about that, after 3 years of fighting the tribes, 1 day, they made a public announcement, we will study the possibility of putting in fish passages for this new license to operate these dams. So that was 24 hours. But you know what? You can talk all you want. I want to see it on paper, people. So I did 24 more stories. 24 stories later, and in April of 2023, the city of Seattle, after fighting those tribes for 3 years, put the name on the dotted line and has promised and have made, it's official now because it's in a federal document, that they will not only study fish passage, but they will install it, and it will cost the city, I don't know, at least $1 billion. I know that's a lot of money, but the tribes of the Skagit Valley are so happy and so thrilled that they can hopefully one day try to get their way of life back by having the salmon come back. And so that, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's just like the power is like bigger than me. It's bigger than me. It's truth. It is truth, and it's showing a spotlight. And just real quickly, I'm going to end this, but some results take years. It was in 2013 that I started exposing wrongs at the Hanford Nuclear Reservation. It took 5 years and 113 stories later, I counted it up tonight in my spreadsheet, to finally enact change that will keep Hanford workers safer, is keeping them safer from toxic vapors. They used to fall and get sick, and I mean fall like literally fall down from toxic vapor exposures out there. It doesn't happen anymore because of a safety culture that we forced through a lawsuit that Attorney General Rob Ferguson, now Governor-elect Ferguson, brought about because of our reporting. And also now, 5 years later, the sick Hanford workers can now get their due with worker compensation. They were systematically denied workers' comp. And now the legislature, because of our reporting, made a change to the law, and there's a presumption of occupational illness. So now they're actually getting taken care of, which our state constitution promises people who are the workers of the state of Washington. That's a promise. So one thing that I say, what I will say, and I've said it many times, is that I am so lucky to work, and you guys should be proud to live in a city that has a place like King TV that puts their money where their mouth is. They support journalism, and they give the resources for investigative journalism that incites public policy, examination, debate, and most importantly, change. We are not making our unit smaller, we are making it bigger, and we are not going away. So anyway, thank you again to the UW for, I had no idea I would have such a fulfilling career, and that I get to go to work every day and feel good about it. And at this old age, I'm still as inspired as I ever was. So thank you very much.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel after what has been a rough few days in all kinds of ways, I feel inspired, I feel connected, I feel grateful, and I just want us to take a moment to applaud our honorees tonight, Gayleen, Erica, Austin, Victor, and Susanna. Let's just give them one round of applause. And speaking of rounds of applause, I really, before I disperse you to your evenings, but I'm going to ask some people to stick around for photos, I do want us to give another round of applause. I have some big thank yous to offer tonight to our amazing staff. So, Sohee Kim, fantastic work on all the details. If you like the flowers, the food, the name tags, the venue, then we have Sohee to thank for that. Thank you, Sohee. Tommy Ferguson has done so much with the all of the graphics and the AV and just so many details. Megan Joyce Jamora for the beautiful video that she made, the retrospective video with Tommy's support and the photos that she's taking and all of that, so we'll continue to enjoy her work. Thank you, Megan. Ulisa Chavez, thank you so much for all of your attentiveness to this event and just all of the details that come together. You put in so much work in this. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you. And And Christopher Crater, here? Is Christopher still here? Thank you so much, Christopher, for all of your work. You know, I heard a couple of people say tonight, Christopher is always kind of making sure that things are running smoothly, and it's that behind the scenes stuff that is just really meaningful. So thank you so much, Christopher. So, thank you so much all for coming. This is such a great event for us. I hope that you'll come back next year. We really love it when, even if you've received your award, we invite you to, our Hall of Famers, our alumni distinction, everybody's invited back each year, so we really do welcome you. So just one last thing before I say goodnight and turn you on your way. We are going to do some pictures. So certainly for tonight's honorees, please stick around. We want to get some pictures. Introducers, if you guys could stick around for a few minutes to get a picture with your honoree, and then Hall of Famers from previous years who are here. If you could stick around just for a few minutes, it would be really cool if we could get at least one group photo. We'll get that out of the way first, and then we can send you guys on your way. And then we'll make this year's people stick around just a little bit longer. But I'm talking, 15 minutes tops, right, Tommy? Okay. Okay, so thank you guys all so much. Really appreciate it. It's a great night. Really have a wonderful evening. Safe travels.